Hi, welcome to the Wired
and Rewired podcast, a podcast all about the HBO hit series, The Wire.
I'm Chris, and this is my 1,000th time watching The Wire.
And this is Ellie. It's my first.
So if you're new to the Force or a longtime veteran, we think you'll find something here to enjoy. As always, we start every episode by popping a recap of episode 13, Sentencing. Every crew has a weak link, including Avon Barksdale's. With the heat turned up in the high-rises, Daniels and McNulty turn to a higher authority in an effort to crack the case wide open. That's from HBO or iTunes. I don't know.
Okay.
It feels like it leaves quite a lot on the table.
Yeah.
Before we get into that, though, I did want to mention I haven't listened back on every episode that we've done, but since we are at the end of season 1, and I think I have been switching between the term busting a recap and popping a recap. And both are, according to the Chicago Manual of Style, correct.
Okay.
But in All the Pieces Matter, director Steve Schill had a joke on set when asked, "What line are we picking up from?" He'd respond, "I'm going to pop a cap in your bitch ass," is the line.
Oh, my. Okay.
So since he said it, henceforth, the segment is going to officially be called Popping a Recap. So just so you know, if you ever hear me say bust a recap, you gotta
pop.
tell me and to stop. But in any case, Sentencing was written by David Simon and Ed Burns and directed by Tim Van Patten. So let's get started, and you can read us the epigraph, Ellie, please.
The epigraph is all in the game, and it's not attributed to anybody in particular. It's just said that it's a West Baltimore saying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, well, what are your initial thoughts on Sentencing?
I am satisfied with what this episode did.
Okay.
Yes, I found myself satisfying. Like, things were tied up in ways that I wanted, with enough left to keep me wanting to immediately roll into season 2.
Okay,
Yeah.
very good.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's good to know. You know what, I'll mention it here now. The sort of kind of the backstory to the end of the season is that about mid-season of season 1, HBO went to David Simon and said, okay, we're picking you up for another season. So the original story was that they were essentially assuming that season 1 was going to be all there was.
Okay.
So when they heard that they was going to be picked up for a second season, they decided, okay, we're going to start adding these other directions, these other kind of components that will play out later on.
Right.
And
okay.
so some of the things we see that are getting set up at the end of this is part of that process. So otherwise they had kind of everything ready to be tied up.
I see.
And actually what's interesting is that Ed Burns, the co-creator, he actually didn't necessarily want to go in the same direction as David Simon. We'll talk about this when we get into season 2. But so that it was this little initial tension point, things like that. So just even interesting behind the scenes, like some of the things that they decided to set up, they were still kind of working through sort of on the fly, which I always appreciate. And the fact that they were able to land the plane, as you'll ultimately see, is really interesting. But in any case, I'm glad to hear that you felt satisfied, but also excited to move on to the next thing. So.
Yes, I will say, I mean, there are some things that get kind of explainy in this episode in particular, and maybe I'll point out some of those areas
definitely.
where I was just like, okay, well, you explained that really well, thank you.
Okay.
But overall, I was pleased.
Okay, excellent. All right, well, I do want to comment. Or actually, you know what? No, I was going to bring in your previous predictions.
Okay.
But why don't we hold on to those until we get to kind of the parts of the show?
Sounds good.
And did you have any questions that kind of came out where you're...
I do have some, but I'll bring them up when we get to it.
All right.
Yeah, there are a couple things that I was not sure about.
All right, well, let's roll, Ellie.
Okay, so we open up on Kima waking up, actually, and Bunk, and who's that other guy that's with him?
That's Ray Cole.
Yeah, Ray
played
Cole.
by Bob Colesbury, producer of The Wire.
Oh, okay. They are waiting for her. They came earlier, but she was asleep. They waited for her to wake up. Very nice of them. And they want to know if she can make out the faces or recognize the faces of the guys who shot her. And they show her some mugs, and she says, yes, definitely for a little man because he grabbed the cash. He was in front, but a no on Weebay. And she does confirm. She knows who Weebay is. She's like, no, I know that's Weebay. And Bunk kind of makes a case. He explains to her what they do have, but why they think it will be hard to convict Weebay with what they have. And knowing that, you can tell he's kind of trying to massage a situation. This thing's not going to go easy. And she follows up with something's got to go hard. So she's not willing to compromise on that.
Yeah.
But you got to love.
An ID of both your shooters would play a whole lot easier come trial. Sometimes things just gotta play hard.
I do.
Sorry. I thought.
Paused.
No. I thought you were going to say something else. I thought you were adding something.
Okay,
Yeah. I mean, in fact, as I was rewatching this, he starts talking. Bunk does, and she gives him this look.
Yes.
And it's just like, I know what you're doing. I know what you're doing.
Yes.
Just knock off the bullshit.
Yeah, exactly.
And she has no patience
won't
for
stand
it.
for it.
I just love that. And the way Sonia Sohn has to play it, she's in the hospital and it's just all with her eyes.
Yes.
I love that.
Yes.
And so she knows exactly what time it is and what Bunk is trying to say. And of course, as a police officer, who's gonna and a shot police officer,
right?
I mean, it would be an absolute slam dunk case for
sure.
And so she could totally do it.
Yep.
So, and I looked at, I just liked Bunk's response. He just gives the smile and the nod to Cole to walk on. There was one question I just don't quite understand is why Bunk kind of nods Cole to go stand by the window.
I wondered about that too. I don't know if there was he knows that Cole would prefer to have less culpability or something. If he was like, well, I was over, there, so I didn't hear what they were talking about.
Yeah. I guess
that's all I can think of.
That
but
makes sense.
I wondered about it too.
It's like, you're having trouble coming up with the witness, and then turns out you talk. Well, what did they say? Oh, I don't know. I wasn't really paying attention. I was kind of out staring out the window.
Right.
So I mean, the fact that it's interesting that why would he actually need to do that? He could just say that he was doing it, but nevertheless, maybe she just didn't feel comfortable. He was kind of triggered.
Yes, that could be it too. She would be more comfortable talking to Bunko about it if she was going to.
Yeah, but it's a great opening. It's a great opening line. I love that.
Yeah, it's a great scene.
Yeah.
So I think we're back at the terrace apartments now. And
at the towers,
the towers, excuse me. And then there's just loads of guys that are getting arrested, including Ronnie Moe.
Right.
And Herc's kind of reporting on the phone about the situation to somebody. He's kind of letting them know what the situation is and who they're pulling in. And they say, okay, we fished our limit. So let's go home. And Herc says, sir.
Yeah.
Let's go home, sir.
Yeah.
So Herc's, of course, referring to the fact that he did well on the test, right? And he is going to make sergeant.
Yep.
He believes.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. I love that. Him giving the finger to Ronnie Moe as Ronnie Moe's going, and you hear Ronnie Moe go, "Fuck the police," which I just love, and then he gives the finger. It's great. And this is the first thing. So I want to give credit to Alan Sepinwall, who I've mentioned probably 100 million times already. But he kind of talks about how this episode is entirely about people putting faith in institutions and that those institutions failing. And this is kind of the first step, is that Herc puts his faith in, I scored well on a test, and that's all that it takes.
Right.
And of course, we find out later in this episode that no, it turns out you need a little bit more. And so, I mean, who knows if it's just we'll get to that part later.
Exactly.
But of course, like him getting all chest out and then
sir.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's go home,
and then
sir.
he has to eat crow later. It's if you like Herc, then that's going to be really sad, but I don't know that a lot of people actually like him.
No, I don't think most people do.
Yeah.
I certainly did not, although I have warmed to him as the seasons progress.
Yeah, he's a good character. But,
yeah, for sure.
All right.
Okay, well, we're in the dungeon here, and Prez is noting who's been arrested on their big corkboard there. They've got 12 caught, that they say, and 7 are on the lam. And Daniels says, we need something to keep this going. The wire's dead, though. Freeman says, we don't have anything else. I mean, basically what they're saying is they don't have enough to keep Avon in jail, right? Like, he's going to be able to make bail and get out of there. So what they really need to find out is where he's going to set up shop next, because he's got to get his product out. He's got to keep on dealing drugs and making money. So McNulty suggests that they take it to the feds. Daniels is like, have you met Burrell? Have you heard me at all? But there's also they kind of laugh about it, like they're going to consider it, right? Yeah. And Perlman, I think, calls in and says, somebody wants to talk to you. It's D'Angelo, and he's in New Jersey, and he's got a lawyer, and they want to talk.
Yeah.
And I think is at the point where, who says this case got legs on it?
Yeah,
oh, no, it's Daniel says it. And then Freeman's like, don't she?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. I love that little colloquialism. Yeah. Yes. But yeah, that's it. You know, so there are a couple of points here. Yeah. As you said, they need to figure out what the new Orlando's is.
Yeah.
And just kind of, if you think back to how they uncovered Orlando's, that took so much work. Right. It came from another murder investigation.
Yes, exactly.
So the notion of them being able to find something again is just so, like, what are you, crazy? Like, we have no connections anywhere to figure this out. And they have like dozens of properties that they could probably investigate. So finding that quickly was never a viable situation. I also loved Prez in this, like, he immediately is like, where did they go to? Like, he was just so plugged in, and he was kind of ready to kind of, okay, where are we taking this next? So we'll get to the end of his arc here in a little bit. And then as you said, like, it's setting up the meeting with the feds is kind of a bit of a callback to episode 1 and 2 because they introduced the feds as this drug like enforcement agency, a sense arm of the drug enforcement agency or whatever. And so that's how McNulty had made this connection. So but I think it's easy to kind of forget, like, how hard it was for them to figure out where Orlando's was. Like, this should just be able to find a new way. And it's like, well, no, because we have no time, and the deputy wants to shut us down. So it really does start the clock on this episode, and we got to move quickly and figure out how to get to the next thing. So. Yep. And that's it. Yeah. And then Perlman on the phone.
Yeah. Stringer is, he makes bail for Avon, picks him up, and they go to a garage to talk to Levy because they know the other locations are probably compromised. We hear then that there are now 20 arrests, and the reason that they've been given is that they have a confidential informant. And, all 3 of them are like, this just doesn't seem like you could have this many arrests from a snitch. And so, Levy says he suspects that there was a wire, that they've been listening in on conversations. He asks him, were you talking on the phone to your nephew? And he's like, no, I talked to him in person. They realized that the club Orlando's was probably mic'd. And they are like, whoa, they could have a lot of stuff if the club was mic'd, because they probably don't have any idea how recently that is only that conversation with D really that's on there. But they decide that they need to make bail for everybody. So everybody is happy and nobody wants to talk, right? That's going to be really expensive, they decide. We find out that Weebay called Levy's office, I guess. Yeah,
exactly.
Because it's like on a little while you were out note.
Yeah.
So weird. Avon says that he feels confident that D will not talk. And he will make sure that he does not talk.
Yep. Yeah, and that note obviously becomes critical later on, which is just kind of, if you're not paying attention or you're waiting for the dialogue. Yeah. So a couple of notes for me. When Avon gets in the car, he says to the driver, "What's up, baby?"
Yeah.
I don't get to use that very often, but I love to say it like that whenever I see somebody. I haven't, we have a friend that moved away, but Joe, and every time I would see him, I don't know why I picked him, but I was like, I would be like, "What's up, baby?" So I love that. But the other part that was really interesting to me about the conversation in the parking garage was that the camera work of the 3 of them was took this weird, almost like fisheye lens kind of style.
Yeah, you're right. It did.
And they were as they did close-ups on each of them. And I wasn't sure exactly what they were going for.
I don't know.
I like it. Yeah. And I, especially when Stringer closes his eyes and kind of shakes his head as he thinks I'm fucked too. Yeah. Except then they're like, wait a minute. If I were fucked, I'd be fucked.
Then
right?
I would be in there as well. Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and I think I liked how quickly they kind of figured it out without really figuring, saying it. It's like, wait, so they got the bug in the thing, but wait, not me. So they must have known, okay, well, clearly the mic wasn't in there for very long. And
right.
Blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And so he said, good you got out of there when he did. The other thing I think I don't know if this is that important, but like when he was talking about structured pleas, Levy he was basically saying like, look, ultimately what you have to come down, what it is like you have to give the police, the DA a lot. Like everybody's got to make this easy for the DA. Like they don't want to be in court any longer than we do. So everybody's got to be like, okay, this person's going to get 5 years, this person's going to get 10, and you're getting a lot of years on the entire organization with no case or no not guilty pleas, essentially. So it makes it easier for the guy at the top to be able to get away with whatever his sentence ends up being. So it just makes things a little bit easier. And but interestingly, that was actually a little bit hard for me. I couldn't quite. There was no first page of Google answer of what a structured plea was. It was like, what's a plea bargain? I'm like, well, I think I know what that is. So.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, and so anyway, that's the parking garage scene. Yeah, and obviously, I think the most important thing, of course, is that plays out later is the Bay call.
Yes, while you were out.
He couldn't have just been like, hey, by the way, Bay call.
I know.
Anyway. But again, it's one of those things where like it's a little bit of a show don't tell. And
Exactly.
So, anyway,
set you up for later.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
and we never Avon. Did he ever call him back? That's what I wondered.
Oh, good question.
So I mean, I don't think he did, but because I'm just thinking like obviously it didn't play out, but like if Avon did call him, then they could have used it later, figure out where Avon had set up, but at that point it wouldn't matter anymore because they're already being shut down. So anyway, okay.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, well, we are going to go to homicide. We've got Bunk and McNulty in the office. And Bunk asks McNulty if he has seen Kima because he mentions that he's been there, and he says he hasn't still. And Bunk does a nice job of shaming him.
I saw your girl today for the idents.
How's she doing?
Okay, I guess. She's out of the ICU. Moving slow, but moving, you know. Jimmy? You ain't been to see her?
Nah, I couldn't go in.
This ain't about you, eh?
When we get back from Jersey, I will. I will.
Yeah.
For it. He says, I just couldn't do it. He says, well, it's not about you. And he says he'll do it when he's back from Jersey after he goes to see Dee and his lawyer. And Bunk relays basically the story of what happened with Kima.
Cole and me, we showed her the spreads. Picked out little man, no problem. Wouldn't go for Weebay. So I tried the fat finger. Damn near down on my knees, begging her to make this play easier in court. You know what she said? Sometimes things gotta play hard.
Real police.
Oh, yeah.
And, they say she's real police, which I love. We get that a couple times in this episode. And Perlman comes in and says something on the desk. She just gives her dead eyes to McNulty and smiles very sweetly at Bunk.
Yeah.
Like, what did you do? He's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, exactly.
You know exactly what you did.
Yeah. What was your read on it?
I was just thinking that it was just back to Levy's office where she felt totally used by him.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that was exactly mine as well. So yeah. I mean, it's not like it's a huge reach. It's like that was our last interaction.
Yeah, exactly. So. Yeah, she was pretty pissed.
Yeah, and she drops that tape. It was a tape recorder.
It was a tape recorder.
She just hurls onto the desk, which I thought was pretty funny. But yeah, and I just another little thing was that they were going through all the murder cases that they had pinned to the Barksdale organization. So that's what they were kind of putting together. When Bunk asks Jimmy, "This isn't about you," I'm not sure. I'm still kind of figuring out how to the interpretation. What's your interpretation of when he's like, "This isn't about you," right?
Well, I mean, I think it's more like, she needs to see you, so you need to be there and not be selfish, because you're uncomfortable not being there. But I think it also does harken to how there has been a lot about, this case being about McNulty.
Yeah.
Really. So I think it's kind of hearkening to that
as
well.
Yeah. Okay.
But I think it's mostly Kima needs to see her people. She needs to feel connected.
Yeah.
So you need to go even if it's hard for you to see her.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's right. I was trying to figure out is it, if you have a true narcissist, they can't admit that they're wrong.
Yeah.
And it's he just can't admit that he was wrong about what the case meant and all that other stuff. So, but
no,
yeah,
I think
right.
it's his level of guilt about that he feels about the situation she's in.
Yeah.
The
Okay.
condition she's in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I will say that the interactions between Bunk and McNulty are still undefeated.
Absolutely.
They're just so good.
They're so good.
Yeah.
They're so good.
Yeah.
Avon and Stringer walk into a funeral home. That's weird. People are looking at caskets, casket catalogs. They go upstairs and, Avon starts talking and Stringer's like, no, you got to be really quiet. He kind of leans in. And we find out this is going to be the new base of operations for them. Mm-hmm. Dee's mom, Avon's sister, shows up. What's her name again?
Brianna,
that's right. And both Brianna and Stringer tell Avon that he needs to take a step back and let the two of them, mostly Stringer, step up as a way of, for them to protect him. Avon, starts talking about what the plan needs to be as far as getting drugs out. And he says, tell Roberto that the drugs have to be really good. And I think that's the first time we hear like the source of the drugs. Mm-hmm. So Roberto is the first time I've ever heard that name. Mm-hmm. He asks his sister about Dee and, Brianna says, well, he'll do what he needs to do, but she's still mad. And Avon says like, I'm going to make it up to him. And she's basically like, well, you better.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. I did want to ask before I get into some of the other things, Avon looks out over the alley and there are kids or there's some, I think they must be like either teenagers or young men playing craps in the alley.
Yes.
And I was thinking, is that like a callback to Snot Boogie from the very first episode?
Oh,
I thought that was kind of cool. And then these little kids run through.
Yeah.
I just thought that was kind of interesting. Like they're bored, so they're just going to go gamble in the alley. So it's just kind of it adds some color. But I think the interesting connection to the parking garage conversation is that Avon at the time in the parking garage is like, hey, he's not going to buck. And he's like acting very confident. But then he gets to talking to Brianna and he has no idea what D'Angelo is actually going to do.
Right.
So,
especially with how he left Stringer and Levy the last time.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they linger on Stringer right at the end of that conversation a little bit. I didn't read anything into it, but it's always interesting to me that, is what Stringer's take and position on the whole thing. But at least for right now, that just kind of, it's in the hands of Brianna. So yeah.
Right.
And then that takes us out of now they're set up in this new location. So.
Yeah. So now we're heading to New Jersey and we've got Perlman, Bunk, and McNulty, and they are talking to Dee and his lawyer, his new lawyer, because he's asked for his representation. He doesn't want Levy. And they go over what they already know, like Dee, says, this is the situation. And it's kind of like, we have that. What they want is they want to know about the murderers, who committed the murders. So they start showing him photos. They show him Lyle's photo. They show him Wallace's photo, Orlando's photo, and then when I say photo, I mean the photos of them dead.
Yeah.
Shot dead. Okay. Yeah. Not like portraits.
Right.
Okay, sorry. And then they play the recording of Poot talking about Wallace and how he was kind of bugging out based on having seen Brandon. And so at this point, Dee puts together the pieces for them around Brandon's death and how that came to be, his involvement in it, Wallace's involvement in it.
God. His name is Brandon Wright.
Burned him, broke fingers, gouged an eye out. All kinds of fun.
Wallace was the one who saw. He saw the boy. But he really ain't think about what they do.
You must have known. When you were standing there by that payphone, you knew.
What was I gonna do, huh? I don't call String, the word get back uptown, what's gonna happen then?
So you told Wallace to wait. Then you called Stringer, and Stringer, he gathered the troops.
Yeah.
And down to the Greeks, they got Wallace to point the finger, right? And then they went in like cops with handcuffs so they could take their time on Brandon.
They dropped the body where we see it. Send a message to the Jecks, they said. Wallace, he couldn't handle that. After seeing that, he wanted to get out. Go back to school. And we even joked about it. Him being 16 and all. Needing to go start back over again as a freshman. Then about a week ago, my uncle and String, they called me down to the club. Stringer, he's all worried about Wallace, and I told him. I said, Wallace ain't no snitch. Plus, he's out the fucking game. I told him that. But I needed to do more. I should have done more.
He says he doesn't know who killed Wallace. Do we think that he doesn't know who killed Wallace?
I don't think he knows directly.
Okay.
I think he was truthful about if he knew,
he would tell.
But
Yeah,
he didn't know directly, and so it wouldn't have made any difference. He would just
Okay.
be saying names.
He wouldn't have suspected.
Yeah.
Putin, Bodhi.
I mean, I think that it's interesting how Bunk says, not
Yeah.
in the projects, not in his crib.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think he probably could have pieced it together, but he wouldn't have known one way or the other. He was already,
Yeah.
I mean, he would have defended Wallace if he had known anything. So yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, he goes on.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's
But
okay.
you're right. I think he probably had his suspicions,
Yeah.
but
But he doesn't know for sure, so he's not going to put it out there.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Throw someone under the bus.
Yeah.
Okay. He does tell them Weebase in Philly. They asked, did Weebase say anything? And, like, oh, we don't talk shop in the car. So at this point, there's not a lot there. And then they put the photo of Deirdre Crescent down that we've seen so many times. And Bunk knocks on the table, knock, knock. And, we hear Dee say tap, tap, tap. And so he starts to tell the story and, says, she's to date my uncle. And, then it seemed like they were apart or they had broken up. But now his uncle was telling him to take an 8-ball of cocaine to her house. And she brings it to the door. He brings it to the door. She takes it and she puts it in the fridge. And then, there's a gunshot. Weebay comes around and basically tells him he got her through the window when she came up to the window. It's the exact scene that McNulty and Bunk had figured out in, what was it, episode 4? Yeah, episode 4 with all the fucks.
Deirdre. Tap, tap, tap. She was one of my uncle's girls.
Yeah, but we got people who put you with her the night she's killed.
Yeah, I didn't know they was gonna do her. I swear, they played me.
How so?
My uncle gave me an 8-ball of coke. Told me to take it over there to her. I was surprised because, I thought he dumped her. But he said, nah, it wasn't like that no more. So, he had Weebay take me over there. I walked up, knocked on the door. She came to the door, all naked and shit with this little-ass robe on.
So she's your uncle's girl, but she comes to the door for you naked.
She used to do that shit with me all the time, man. Teasing. You know how girls do. Maybe you don't. I don't know. Anyway, I'm like, ain't you gonna let me come in? She's like, nah, because she gotta get ready for my uncle to come by later. So, I give her the coat. She laughs about how she's gonna put that shit on ice for later on.
Refrigerator?
I don't know shit about no refrigerator. Like I said, I ain't go in. So I turned around, started walking back to the truck, and I heard this shot. Weebay, he come running back with this big-ass 45 he liked to use so much. Tells me how he was tapping on the window real soft. How with the lights on, she had to walk all the way up because she couldn't see what was on the outside. When she gets up to the window and looks out,
Yep.
I remember it well. It's exactly what they described. So they know that is definitely correct. That is what he's telling is the truth. And, Dee at this time, he's just like, he's so resigned and fed up with what his life is.
Yep.
And, he says, do you know who my dad was? My dad was Butch Stanford. And basically, says, this has been my life. This is my family. I have had to live in this forever and I cannot get free of it. He says, you live with this shit until you can't breathe anymore.
Yep.
And basically says he wants a chance to start over, which is perfect for them.
Yeah.
Perfect for
Y'all don't understand, man. Y'all don't get it. Grew up in this shit. My grandfather was Butch Stanford. You know who Butch Stanford was in this town?
Mm-hmm.
All my people, man. My father, my uncles, my cousins. It's just what we do. You just live with this shit until you can't breathe no more. I swear to God, I was courtside for 8 months. And I was free in jail than I was at home.
What are you looking for?
I wanted to go away.
I can't.
I want what Wallace wanted. I want to start over. That's what I want. I don't care where, anywhere. I don't give a fuck. I just want to go somewhere where I can breathe like regular folk. You give me that, and I'll give you them.
Yeah, it's a real heartbreak of a scene. And of course it all gets wrapped up with that little monologue, which is beautiful.
Yes, really nicely done.
You know, I want to kind of rewind. This scene is almost 10 minutes long.
It is. I have so many notes on just this scene.
Yeah.
It like took me almost an entire page.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay.
Indeed.
But it's incredible because you would never know. Like, I don't know how long. I can only imagine how long it takes to shoot a 10-minute scene.
Yeah.
And there are all the different camera angles and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
Like, it's just amazing. And for me, like, the actors just really like kept it together. Like, you would never know that they had been working however long, 6-8 hours on that one scene. So really impressive stuff. And yeah, this is like D'Angelo's essentially recapping the entire season, really.
Yes, he is.
Right. And there's something interesting about how the way that he talks about the story this time compared to when he was telling it to Poot and Bodie and Wallace when he's on the couch, because of course in that scenario he was
He's
the
the shooter.
But this time he's got all these extra details, and it's clearly this is the true story. He was just fronting back then.
Yes.
And of course, like, I love the tap tap tap. I felt like there's no way they knew how many times he tapped on this.
Yes.
But of course, like, that was it's just a beautiful setup for the story, and the fact that Bunk doesn't say anything. He just puts the thing out there and he just taps, 3 times, and then again 3 times. I love that. So there's one other moment where McNulty, when D'Angelo says, you know how girls do, or maybe you don't.
Yeah, maybe
and
McNulty
laughs and gives Bunk a smirk. I just love that line. And then they zoom in on Deirdre as Dee kind of ends the story. So and it really, like, I do love, just the way that Lawrence Gilliard just recaps it again and is able to kind of tell the story again in such a different way with a lot more energy.
Yeah.
One note, I have to give credit to Turned Up TV on YouTube. He actually does some research on Butch Stanford, who was an actual person.
No way.
And it was, D'Angelo says it's his grandfather. William Butch Stanford. He was part of the Bottom Avenue crew that was indicted in 1969 for possession of heroin. He was killed shortly after that. So, and I will put a link to the video in the show notes. So that was an actual person. I love how McNulty acknowledges that he knows who Butch Stanford is, because I think that connects a later to how McNulty is talking about West Baltimore is dying, and he just is connected like all the way back, because this was 1969 when Butch Stanford was killed. Okay. So and of course that's 30 odd years ago in the timeline of the story, and McNulty is aware of it, so he just understands how long this has been an issue, and how the fact that people are getting killed in West Baltimore, and why this is such an important case. So. But just as he said, like, the way that Lawrence Gilliard goes from telling the story, recapping, I mean, all the twists and turns of his interaction, talking about Wallace, talking about the murder of Deirdre Crescent, and then talking about just what he wants in his life.
Right.
I mean, he just carries the whole scene, 10-minute scene, and he just does such an amazing job.
He does.
And I mean, just by contrast, I don't know why I still remember this, but Jack Nicholson in A Few Good Men was in that movie for 11 minutes total. What? And the end, Lawrence Gilliard is, and I mean, the whole ensemble is this in this 10-minute scene. And so I just mentioned that because I still believe, and I've recently watched The Sopranos. Joe Pantoliano won the Emmy for Best Supporting Actor this year for this particular year for The Sopranos. Okay. And I still will put up Lawrence Gilliard's performance. And this case, this episode, episode 2, when he's in the first interrogation, totally. Yes. I just think is so great. Yes. I have a whole separate. We'll have to have a whole discussion on a mini episode about the Emmys, but in any case, but you wrapped it up beautifully. But I feel so this scene just brings up so many emotions. It's so well done, and and then just one other note that I forgot to mention. The public defender that's in this case, I think it's public defender. She sees Brandon Wright's body and after being tortured, and she is like revolted. Yes. I mean, she's just like, oh my God. Yeah. And you sort of forget that, to a normal person, this is really horrifying. Yes. And you're like, oh yeah. Like, whereas the two detectives that showed up and said, this is the worst case of suicide I've ever seen. Right. They're just making jokes and stuff. So
it's a good reminder too of why Wallace was so affected. When they started talking about him and how he was going to get out of the game.
Yeah. And, that's a great point. That's a great point. So. Okay, that's all. I will stop there. But it's
an excellent scene.
Thank you for letting me go on and on and on about that.
It's great. All right. Well, we are gonna go to Daniel's at home having dinner with his wife. He gets off the phone. He tells her that they're gonna bring in the case big, and she wants to know. Have you squared this thing with Burrell? And he's like, it's not gonna work with Burrell. I've given up on that. And you can see she is worried because she knows about his past indiscretion. Yep. Clearly, she's mentioned things a couple times that let us know. Yeah.
Yeah. And she's living
in she's living large. Yeah. They're having a beautiful dinner and listening to jazz music in their lovely home. He says, kind of screw it. I'm going to take this to the feds. And he does point out, too, that he thinks Burrell picked him for this case because of his previous indiscretion, because, he had potentially something on him to keep this case going the way that he wanted it to go with that pressure. So,
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Burrell thought he could keep him under his thumb.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and, as you said, the too much stink, too much mess line that Cedric says.
Yes, exactly.
Is a reminder about calling back to living in shit, right? Rather than working a shovel. Yes. Burrell doesn't want to bring up his indiscretions. He kind of used it as like a bluff.
Yeah.
But he doesn't want to. He's not going to bring it up. He doesn't
want to touch it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because of course it brings.
Bad.
Yeah, exactly. I do see, and so then when Daniels says we're going to try to take this federal, and Marla is like shocked. Yeah, and she just has this look of concern on her face, which, you just feel like, I don't know, you sort of knowing when he gets passed over for promotion, you just think, maybe you should have listened to your wife and just like, what, let's bring the case in as far as we can with what we have as opposed to reaching. But, going to the feds was the right move in terms of what would have had the biggest impact.
Exactly. Like the only hope of making this thing progress.
Yeah. So, so he's trying to do the right thing. And this is kind of that same thing. It's like he's putting his faith in the institution of the feds that, they're going to be about the best case. So, Yep.
Okay. Well, let me see here. We go back to Perlman and McNulty. They're in the car. Perlman is just freaking giddy with excitement over everything that they have now. She's just like, this is a case of a lifetime. Everybody's saying that. It's a career case, case of a lifetime. She wants to go to the feds too. And, she gets out of the car and McNulty's like about to apologize for how he acted at Levy's. And before long, they are doing it in her car in a parking garage.
Yep.
So we know what gets her hot.
Yeah.
It's big cases.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. So, all you have to do is, boys, just bring in a big case for your girlfriend.
Yeah.
And, you'll probably have some good times.
Exactly. Everything is okay.
Yeah. I will say, of course, like you're watching, you're like, as an actor, Deidre Lovejoy just gives this look, and you know exactly what the look means at the time.
Yes.
I've never seen that look in my life.
No, sorry.
But I knew what it meant, so that's how I know. Or maybe you're like, oh yeah, clearly they But if I look like Dominic West, then maybe it'd be different. But in any case, yeah, that was pretty funny.
Yeah, it is really funny how quickly he speeds from the driver's side and around to her side. You're like, whoa, hey.
And he's just trying to like come up with words to say it, and she's like, just shut the fuck up. Let's do this. And, I just have to, but it's just funny. It's like, I was like, wait, so then they have to be done, and then there's cleanup, and
I know,
it's like,
dude.
The
Logistics of that, all I kept on thinking was like the parking brakes and gear shifts, and maybe my back hurt.
Yeah, well, they were in the back seat, so yeah.
Okay.
I don't know.
Were they? All
yeah,
right.
sorry.
That's fine.
Yeah, let's sprint away from this conversation.
Oh
as
my
fast
gosh!
as possible.
All right, so let's see here. Oh, Freeman and Bunk go to see Roy
Brown. Mm-hmm.
in what department are they in? Billing or something like that? I could not quite understand where they were.
They are not in the police department.
So they're like he's working security now or something.
He's working for the phone company. He's the guy. Later on, Prez comes in and says, guy from the phone company called, and Roy Brown is like according to Wikidom, he's a telecommunications administrator.
Okay. But he used to be
we don't really see
a
that.
police officer.
Exactly. Yep.
All right. So they go in and they say, hey, we would like to get a trap and trace for Philly. And he's like, no, well, then you got to go through Philly. So they say, too cumbersome to do that. It's going to take too long. We find out, because they mentioned Philly, we know that they're going for Weebay, of course. Mm-hmm. And what they want to do is they want to trace the phone calls that are going from Weebay to Levy.
Yes.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. That's what I just wanted to confirm. And they're about to give up. They're about to leave. And this is where Roy's like, is this where you tell me? Like it's, how important this is. And they point out that this is to get the guy that shot an officer. And we know that they're going to get what they need from him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So the trap and trace is the opposite of the pen register, which pen register is when somebody calls from a phone, it gets the number of the outgoing call.
Okay.
The trap and trace is obviously the opposite. Which is who called. And I think that knowing that it came from Philly, that gave them enough to get like the warrant, I guess.
Yeah.
To say, or even maybe they did it without a warrant. Who knows?
Okay.
And just said, we just need this, and that's why he said, are you going to tell me how important this is? Because then, I don't need any paperwork. I'll just go do this.
I'll just go do it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Yes. Thank you, Roy.
Yeah. Thank you, Roy.
That was
Good
really
job.
nice of you.
Yeah.
Okay. So McNulty's now talking to his Fed friend from way back.
Yep.
What's that guy's name?
Agent Fitzhugh.
And they like to do the car passing thing talking.
Yep.
That's how they talk to each other. Anyways, he tells him basically what he wants to do with this case. And he says he's going to come. He mentions Daniels, but he says, I can vouch for Daniels because before Fitzhugh was like, oh, we think that there's something up with him.
Yep.
There's a reason to be concerned, and asks him to set something up for him. So that's coming down the pike.
Yep.
We know. Anything on that, or shall I move along?
No.
It's kind of boring.
Yep.
Okay, so we go to the print shop, and somebody comes in and asks Stringer for 10 copies.
Mm-hmm.
10 copies. This is apparently some kind of code.
Yep.
Stringer goes to make the copies, and while the copier's on, he says some kind of like, no problems. And the other guy says no. And before he leaves his black bag or briefcase on the counter. And it's drugs.
Mm-hmm.
And they're in the back room, and Stringer gives somebody some instructions about what to do with what's in there, which is, I guess, like raw cocaine or
heroin.
It's heroin. Okay. And I just don't know my drugs, guys. Sorry.
Sorry. It's a white powder. I assume it's heroin.
Anyway, he like holds up like something that looks like it's from Super Supplements. Right. It's like 3 parts of this to 1 part of this.
Yeah.
And so they are going to get the drugs back out there very soon.
Yeah. Well, he talks about this in episode 2, I think, where he's like, sometimes we put some caffeine or some protein, whatever those things are. Yes. So I assume that's one of those supplements that is also white.
Yes.
That doesn't affect the experience of doing the drugs as much as,
Yeah. Okay, well, that's what they're going to do with that.
Yep. Yeah, not much
Handy little
there.
print
They're just
shop.
kind of moving the thing along.
Yep. Okay, now we've got McNulty, Daniels, and Bunk talking to the feds. And what the feds want...
Freeman. Sorry, not
Freeman,
Bunk. Yeah,
not Bunk. Sorry,
yeah. McNulty, yes.
Daniels. I think I
And
said
Freeman.
McDaniels on previous
You have,
episodes.
and as a Raider fan, it bothers me quite a lot. That.
It's so hard. There's so many names in this show.
Yeah, well, and
cannot
yeah.
keep them straight.
Well, there was a name of a person that you probably heard more than a few times. It also had that name, so it's unfortunate. But don't worry.
Okay.
I try not to get, I try to stay out of your way.
Thank you.
People, if you don't know what she's talking about, come on, just let her.
Let my flow keep flowing.
Exactly.
All right, so,
But I did want to getting Bunk and Freeman. I mean, that's just racist. I mean, come on.
Chris,
I'm kidding.
I did not do it for that
I did just have
reason.
to make sure people knew what scene we were talking about.
Okay.
So, yeah.
It is
Freeman,
Daniels, and Freeman.
Yes, there you go.
Talking to the feds.
Yeah.
And what the feds want is the sources of the drugs. They want to know who is making the drugs and bringing them in, Cosa Nostra or whatever. And they're like, we don't have any of that.
Yeah.
We don't have those sources. We don't have any. When they say wise guys, I guess they're talking about Italian mafia or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So they, say, okay, well, you can connect it to counterterrorism or corruption. And that's the point where Daniels is like, well, what kind of corruption are you talking about? And they say, what kind you got? And we know that there's definitely some corruption.
Yep. So. Yeah. So here is where I have, this is just a nitpick. And if you kind of know where it's going, I feel like, Don't you think that what we find out later?
Yeah.
Don't you think they should have asked those questions? Like, okay, so what is your plan?
Yeah,
like,
I know.
are you going to so you're saying
it's a lot of running around.
Connect to corruption, you'll pursue Barksdale and Bell. And they'll be like, no, we're going to pursue Clay Davis. And no, wait, they never would have gotten into the discussion with the ASAC.
Yeah.
But they never would have been in that room because no, we're not going to do that. We're not going to even go take this a step forward.
Yes.
So the fact that they're like, okay, well, let's, they probably walked out and said, okay, let's put our case together for where the corruption comes in, and then so they were probably they couldn't see it. It's a little frustrating, obviously, because you're just like, no, don't go to the next meeting. But anyway, so yeah, but yeah, and it just knowing again, like the post 9/11 protocols. This is a year after. I'm still
it is
so impressed.
Crazy to think about that, isn't it?
Yeah, that they just had a beat on. They know that they're not going to care about drugs. It's all going to be about terrorism or whatever else, or whatever makes the big headlines. So yeah. All right, that's all I've got.
Well, okay, I think we're at the low rises, and Bodhi and Poot find out that someone else is selling vials on their territory, and that is not okay. And Bodhi grabs up like a pipe or a bat or something, I don't even know, and he goes straight over to the guy who's selling, and he just whacks him and turns into a huge brawl.
Yellow top stuff, I'm yellow top. Motherfucker, what the fuck is up? Huh? What the fuck is y'all doing? Yo, do what you feel, but be ready to finish what you start. What you doing? This ain't no open market, you know that.
Ain't no market at all, nigga. You ain't got shit to sell. Back that ass up to those that do.
You know what? What? Fuck.
So things are becoming a little unstable in that area. Herc and Carver are watching from their vehicle, just having snacks. Probably making a big mess in there.
Yep.
And
trifling.
Yeah. Trifling. Exactly. You trifling. And, Carver says this is why we can't win. If they mess up, they get beat. And if we mess up, we get pensions.
Yep.
It's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's essentially exactly what happened to Mahone, right? He got punched in the face, and that was it. So,
and he got to just have his pension and.
Yep, right off into the sunset.
Right.
Yeah. I'll say here. So the song that was playing was I don't know that it was like what's the term when it's in the environment? I forgot.
Ambient?
No, it's something else, but it doesn't matter. Anyway, but I feel like that was like they were playing it over. I didn't know that it was coming from somewhere like a boombox or whatever, but not that matters. But it was the song was called "Witness the Fitness." So I like how Bodhi is in his tank top and looking.
He is. He's looking fit.
I do love the onion killer cameo. He's one of my candidates for the killer cameo. I just like his, ain't no market at all.
Yeah.
I just, it's such a great line. But then of course he gets his ass beat, so he has to run off. So, but yeah, what the reason why I think this is an interesting little vignette is because it shows that when you don't have drugs, and this is why they were talking about, like, where is Avon going to set up? Like, if they don't actually have any product, they can't just keep muscle around to hold down the towers.
Right.
Like, people will just lose customers, and then people will stop coming to them. I mean, as any business would. So you actually have to have the product there. Yeah. And so the fact that Bodhi, even though they sort of own the property, and Onion is all the way out onto one side of the low rises. Yeah. They have to resort to just beating the hell out of people, but you can't just keep doing that, right? That's not sustainable.
Exactly.
So it's just, I think it just shows kind of why getting the product back is so critical. Yeah. So.
Okay. Well, McNulty finally comes in to see Kima. Mm-hmm. Yay. She pretty immediately wants an update on the case. She wants to know what's on the wire. The wire's dead. So he updates her, but Kima's girlfriend is Cheryl, right?
Yep.
Cheryl gets pretty upset instantly. Walks out.
Fuck both of y'all.
Yeah, exactly. That's what she says. And Kima's, basically says, well, she wants me to quit. She says it's not worth this. Mm-hmm. And she does chastise him for not having come to visit her, and he says he couldn't, and he points out something that I kind of had not really thought about before. He's like, it's always like you and sinners, the black cops, that have to put themselves in these risky situations.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, what took you so long getting up in here? Shit, no cards, no flowers. I mean, what the fuck, Jimmy?
I couldn't. I felt, well, a case like this, it's always you or Sidner or some other black cop who ends up going undercover. I swear, if I could do it over, if I
could do it over, you know what I'd do? Put more tape on that fucking gun.
I'm sorry, Kima. I'm sorry.
And, he felt really a lot of guilt over that, I think. Mm-hmm. And he kind of goes on to say, if I could do it all over, although she says, if I could do it all over, I would put more tape on the gun, just to say, like, it was not, she didn't think that the approach or the plan was a bad plan in the first place. Yeah. So kind of, alleviating some of the guilt that he probably feels about that. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, you said it very well. I think that when I was thinking about, like, it's not about you, and I think about, like, Rawls and McNulty in the hospital, and Rawls is like, believe it or not, everything isn't about you. Yeah. And then, of course, like, Bunk says that earlier as well. It's not about you, and I think it's sort of this message that he just doesn't understand that, yes, he started this thing, but people make their own choices, and they do their, and that's exactly what Kima says is, I was in charge of putting the gun under the seat, and I didn't put enough in, or whatever the hell. I didn't, I didn't make sure, blah blah blah. And so, yeah, she's giving him a chance to kind of absolve himself, or to absolve him, which of course is very generous. I also think, though, that it is interesting because when I think about when McNulty talks to D'Angelo in episode 2, and he says, I don't give a shit about a possession charge. I'm a murder police. Yeah. And I mentioned at the time that, like, that's his identity. He sees himself as a murder police. And then at the beginning, Kima says, sometimes I got to play hard. And McNulty says, real police. And later, and now you see that it's her identity. Like, this is who she is. She is a cop. And I guess it kind of thinks back to, like, when she tells that story about, I'm forgetting his name, the cop, the older cop.
Yes.
That she just, that's when she kind of being a cop became that part of her identity. It's only grown since then, and now she's, gotten shot in the line, and now it's just like this is who she is, and it's always going to be who she is, and like you can't turn it off. You can't you might as well just say like
Apparently not.
change your hair color or
Right.
whatever it is. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
So of course like Cheryl immediately doesn't understand this.
Yep.
Like doesn't understand why.
Yep.
But it's not. There's no logic to it. It's just
Yep.
this is who you are. So
I know.
yeah, that's a lot for a short scene. I did talk quite a lot about.
No, it's okay.
But yeah, I do. And
Yeah.
I love this scene, and then of course it leads into the next one. So
It does, because Kima says it's something that I need you to do. And next scene is McNulty and Bubs. And McNulty gives Bubs some money, gives an update on Kima. And the whole time I think you're kind of like, you're wondering, is he clean or is he using? Is he clean or is he using? And he kind of says all this. He tries to give some of the money back, but then he doesn't. And he leaves with just kind of turning around and saying, "Don't tell her." And that's enough for you to know that he is back to using drugs. So
How's she doing? Still shook. But she wanted you to have that. Told me to tell you she's sorry to be late with her.
Girl got such heart, you know?
Yeah.
This is enough of what I got going on now, man. You give the rest back to her.
You sure?
Give her my love. Hey, McNutty. Don't tell her.
yeah, when I watch this one again, this one just kills me.
yeah,
And I want to, all the respect to Sonia Sohn in the previous scene, and then Andre Royo here. But I like how Dominic West is kind of navigating these scenes through, and he's like sort of this more stable, or not more stable, but in this scene, he's got to be the less emotional. He's got to be, and allow the other actor to do something. So I just appreciate that. But in any case, yeah, I mean, but Andre Royo, he kills this. He just kills me, because you see him struggle. He's like, okay, I don't need all the money that we'd originally talked about. Yeah. And McNulty's like, are you sure? And he's like, this is just cash money. Like, why are you giving it back?
Yeah.
And of course, and he puts it in his pocket, and you see he's just conflicted, and he's like,
because he knows what he's going to use
exactly,
it for.
Exactly. And then, I said this in episode 3, he like tips his hat when McNulty gave him the tip, and he does the same thing. He just touches his hat and give him my love. Ugh.
Yeah.
And then, he looks back, and I mean, he just says, don't tell her. That's all he says. And yet your heart is just breaking.
Yep.
And McNulty has to watch him, and he sort of, I don't know. I don't know. I don't think I'm reading in any like regret, but he's just kind of like, he doesn't know what journey Bubbles was on.
Exactly.
And so, he's kind of just reacting to emotion that he's seeing. Yeah. And it's, I don't know if it kind of threw him off a little bit, whatever, but it's just, the scene it's just so hard, because you were rooting so hard for Bubbles.
I was rooting so hard. I wanted him to, but I knew that we couldn't, this could not be a happy story for Bubs. Like it could not be, because it's just not realistic. Yeah. Right. Like, and that's, if anything, this is, this show is very dedicated to being real and, reflective of what it's like out there in West Baltimore.
Yeah.
So. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, in the dungeon, we find out Herc did not make the list for sergeant, but Carver did.
Yes.
Shocker. And I guess Herc kind of makes like a comment. He's like, he thinks maybe it's some brutality charges against him or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's been a little too rough with the perks he's been picking up.
Yeah. And that was a bit of a callback to episode 2, because Daniel says this is 3 brutality charges, and Carver and Herc says none of them sustained, but he's like, as if that's going to make any difference.
Exactly.
Right? So,
yeah. I forgot that. Thank you for reminding me. Mm-hmm. Shardine comes in to visit her boyfriend, Freeman. She gives him a little kiss, sits on his desk. So
yeah, where's
cute.
the realism? Where's the realism?
Yeah, I know. Where's the realism? No, I don't think Freeman is a catch. I gotta tell you.
I know.
Carver says the world is on its ass.
Yeah.
They just cannot believe this is the case, but it is. All right.
Yep.
Let's see here. Prez gives Freeman a number for a house in Philadelphia. So this is from Roy, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. And then Freeman closes the door.
Yes.
On him and Sweet Chardine.
Yep. Where I
Yeah.
assume they're gonna go at it
They're
like
gonna- yeah, exactly.
like McNulty and Perlman in the parking garage. No, come on.
No, they're going to
Freeman's
be
classy.
much classier.
Yeah, exactly.
Much classier about it.
The song playing there was "Blind Love" by the
Oh.
Nighthawks. So, a little on the. I mean, no.
don't
Mr.
know.
Freeman's a handsome man.
He
Let's not
is.
blame
He's
him.
a very
Yeah.
good-looking fellow.
I mean,
Yeah.
Chardine. I guess she's okay.
Yeah, no, she's hideous. She's beautiful.
Yes, she is beautiful.
Okay, so let me see here. Shall we move on?
Yes, please.
We are in a fancy conference room. That's all I can tell you. I'm not exactly sure where we are.
It actually reminds me a little bit of the room that they arrested Savino in.
Yes,
but
exactly.
It's not. It's definitely
yeah,
different.
yeah. Anyways, they are quickly talking about corruption.
Yep.
And, they say that one of them's been building a file on Senator Clay Davis for 2 years. And this is where it gets a little explainy to me.
Okay.
But it's fine. I mean, I think that it's good for the folks that need the explaining. They basically kind of explain how this was a quid pro quo on Senator Clay Davis's part, right? So Barksdale was able to find out where redevelopment was going to eventually occur, even though it would be a few years out. He would buy those places. He would flip them to make it seem like they're more than they are worth. And then when the city has to condemn it for the redevelopment, he gets a payoff for it. So he's making a huge amount just on buying up these super cheap properties that he knows through his politician sources that they're going to be up for redevelopment.
Yep.
Yeah. So anyways, they ask though, can your informant give us any, direct links to the corruption? Can he tell us anything? And they're like, no, he doesn't. He knows the murders. He doesn't know like the politicians or anything like that. And they start to realize that the path that they would have to follow if they go with the feds is that they would have to use D to get Avon. They would have to bargain with Avon then to get the politician. So they would then, be giving Avon a reduced sentence or something like that to get him to cooperate and give up the names of whoever he was working with. And, McNulty especially, all of them are pretty disappointed in that. McNulty especially is just, they're like, what are you talking about? This is the case.
Yeah.
This is who we want to bring in. This is what it's all about. This guy is the kingpin here. And, how many lives have been lost because of this person? And so they decide to kind of do it with just looks at each other. Perlman kind of just looks and shakes her head, and they decide not to go through the feds. And, McNulty kind of leaves talking to Fitzhugh. He says, thought you were real police, brother.
Yeah.
And so, so all that hope for a case with the feds, nothing.
Yeah. So this is my other nitpick. So McNulty needed to be in the room in the earlier meeting with the feds because he was the connection to Fitzhugh.
Right.
I don't know why he was in this room with the ASAC because, I think if they had just walked out and just said, we can't, we're we're not going to go in the direction of trying to get the corruption by making a deal with these murderers.
Yeah.
I think that would have been the end of it. But because McNulty had to spout off, that's why they all got fucked in the end.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's just, so that kind of bothers me. And I think that ultimately, as I said, I think if they had known going in that was going to be the approach, they never would have taken the mean to begin with. Right? They would have said,
Yes, I agree with you.
Yeah. But here's, and I think the other part of it is, so I have some thoughts here, but let me ask you, do you think that it would have made sense to try to go after Clay Davis?
Not at this cost. I agree. Not at this cost. Yeah. Because what did Clay Davis do is like he, took some money so that somebody else could make a whole bunch of money.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't seem the same as, selling drugs to a whole bunch of people and calling for murders on people. I don't know.
I think if I'm playing devil, I agree with you, I think. But I think if I'm playing devil's advocate, it's that Clay Davis, by giving the tips of where these are, he's essentially allowing them to fund
he totally
the drug game. So maybe
that's true. And he's the one that should be held to the highest standard,
right?
Because he's in public office,
right?
So I don't know. I am torn. Maybe it's just because I've been in watching Avon this entire time. He has been our villain the entire time. That if I think about it more subjectively, like if this was really in the news, probably I would think that the politician needs to be the most accountable for what has gone down here.
Yeah, but whether to go after the politician and in lieu of giving the maximum sentence, essentially, if the message is if a drug dealer gets powerful to influence a politician, that they're actually covered now, because if they ever end up taking a charge, they can give it a politician and get a reduced. So that's not a great message.
No,
either.
It's not.
Okay, so I think the police were right on this. I was just kind of debating, whether or not.
It's a tough one.
Yeah. All right, and so McNulty just burns it all down as he walks out of the room.
As he does.
Yeah, it is all about him.
Yeah, exactly. Well, he just kind of fucks himself later.
Yeah.
He'll never learn.
Yep.
Anyways, Dee's mom, Brianna, comes to visit him in jail. Oh my gosh, you know what? Okay, this is an aside. The last episode that we recorded, I think I was like, I recognize that. What is her name?
Michael Hyatt.
Yeah, and I was like, I recognize her, and I could not figure out what it was. And I was like, I think she was in a comedy. She was, and she did. She played a psychiatrist in My Crazy Ex-Girlfriend.
Oh,
do you know that show?
I've heard about it, and I heard it's great.
It's hilarious. So yes, she was in that. I did not make it up.
Nice.
I figured it out. And also, I figured another one out. I think I mentioned an animated adult comedy that has
Lance
Reddick. Yeah, and that's Farzar is the name of it.
Oh, okay.
There you go. And there is a McNulty reference.
Is that right?
Where he does a chastisement, and it is a McNulty chastisement.
Nice.
In that. So
excellent.
There you go, guys.
Oh, well done. So what was it?
Farzar. Farzar. I'm not saying it is good. Okay.
That's okay.
Just saying.
I mean, guys gotta put food on the table.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Now, Brianna, she comes in. She visits her son in jail, and Dee kind of starts in on the unfairness of this role he has in the family, how he's trapped basically. And she says, oh, do you want Avon to take the fall? Because, he will do that. I'm like, no, he won't.
Right.
There's no way he's going to do that. But anyways, that's what she says. But she says, if he does, then you have to fill his shoes. Are you ready for that? And he says, yeah, he's never going to be ready. And she just keeps working at it. She says, if you testify against him, you're going to hurt your whole family. You're going to hurt your son. You're going to hurt me. And this is part of the game. How are you going to start over without your family? Who are you without your family? So, man, she just lays it on thick. And you just know that this is not, it's not going to work out anymore.
He messed up, Dee. He knows it. Now, if you want to get even with him, you can. But you hurt him. You hurt this whole family. All of us. Me and Trina and the cousins. And Donette, too. And your baby. Your own baby boy. This right here is part of the game, Dee. And without the game, this whole family would be down in the fucking terrace living off scraps. Shit, we probably wouldn't even be a family. Start over, huh? How the fuck you gonna start over without your peoples? Without your own child, even? You ain't got family in this world. What the hell you got?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, and Michael Hyatt, the actor, she's killing it in this scene. But on the other hand, I'm like, damn.
Yeah.
Just... Oh.
Yeah.
Because, and so this is one more comment about D'Angelo putting his faith in the family institution,
Right.
and here his mom telling him that he's got to go to jail so that they can all continue to live in relative comfort.
Exactly.
I mean,
What kind of mom is that?
right? I mean,
Bullshit.
so there is an untold story of D'Angelo. How did D'Angelo get into the game?
Yeah.
Who knows? I mean, he does talk about how you grow up in it. So maybe it was always just, well, they don't know any different. And so as soon as he's old enough, he's going to take over something or whatever. And look how well he's doing. And so, oh, he looks like he might have some aptitude for this or whatever. And then here she is where it's like, well, we have to decide as a family what we're going to do next. And it's like, I mean, like, this is not, well, sorry, I don't want to, I shouldn't say this. I don't know. But it reminds me of Stringer saying to D'Angelo, hey, what are these guys going to do? They're going to go get a job or go back to college? Like, no, they're going to buck a little, but then they're going to come around when they don't get paid.
Yeah.
But her situation is not like that.
No.
Right. And so they already have all this, like, essentially the property money and all that other stuff. Like, how much do you need the drug game anymore? Just if it was shut off tomorrow, are you really telling me that you wouldn't be able to keep going? I don't know. So that part, but for her, I think she's looking at it as like, I don't even want to approach that. I don't want to, we need Avon to be at the top so that the rest of us can keep living the lifestyle that we have.
Yes.
I mean, that's essentially what Avon said to Brianna in the last one. You like this crib? I put you in this crib.
Yes.
And that's how it gets maintained.
Yeah.
So.
And I think it's more even like the prestige of their position.
Yeah.
Right?
I bet that's right too. So it's, I mean, it's hard to not like Brianna. I like her.
Right.
But at the same time, I'm like, you bastard.
Yes.
Like, just,
you're a terrible mom.
I mean, just telling your son he's got to go to prison.
You got to go to prison. You got to eat this.
Do it for the family.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So.
I know you're depressed and you hate this and you don't want to do it anymore, but you're going to just have to go to jail for it now.
Yeah. So that sucks.
I do not like it.
Boo.
Yeah,
boo.
boo.
Brianna.
Okay. Let's go to the dungeon. Oh, Daniels talks to Carver.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. This whole time I've been trying to figure out who the mole is.
Yep.
All my guessing, my terrible guessing apparently, because I did not see this coming.
There were no hints. There were no hints.
So, Daniel's like, yeah, it's kind of interesting. Burrell the deputy ops knew everything that we were doing except this 1 week when you were out.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that interesting? And this is when you realize that they're like, yeah, Carver's the one that's been telling it all. And Carver kind of is like, oh, I was pressured by him. He asked me up. He gave me coffee in a Danish. And, just tries to say, well, what do you do when the deputy ops asks you to do that? What do you do when he's talking to you in your face? And Daniel says, look, you've made sergeant and pretty soon you're going to have 11 or 12 guys under you, and some are going to be good and some are going to need some work and some are going to be shit, and they are going to take their lead from you and how you present yourself and what you put out as a priority. That's what they are going to adopt as well. And I think he says something like, if you decide it's about you, it's going to be about you. If you decide it's about the work, it will be about the work. And leaves him with that, even kind of, though he doesn't refer to his own experience, you can see that he's speaking from his experience and his regrets about how things went down when he was younger.
100%.
Yeah.
Yep.
A couple of weeks from now, you're going to be in some district somewhere with 11 or 12 uniforms looking to you for everything. Now, some of them are going to be good police. Some of them are going to be young and stupid. A few are going to be pieces of shit. But all of them will take their cue from you. You show loyalty, they learn loyalty. You show them it's about the work, it'll be about the work. You show them some other kind of game, then that's the game they'll play. I came on in the Eastern, and there was a piece of shit lieutenant hoping to be a captain. Piece of shit sergeants hoping to be lieutenants. Pretty soon we had piece of shit patrolmen trying to figure the job for themselves. And some of what happens then is hard as hell to live down. Comes a day you're gonna have to decide whether it's about you or about the work.
I mean, that's when that last line of like, a lot of that, it's hard as hell to live down.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. This is one of my favorite scenes. And so just to rewind, when Daniels calls Carver into his office, he says, Detective Carver, the same way that he said to Detective Polk when he showed up drunk at 9 a.m. He's like, Detective Polk, and, just brings him into the office. I love that. Like, if Lance Reddick were ever to say, Detective Orange, I'd be like, oh God, what have I done? So rest in peace, Lance Reddick. But, and then, then just this, the writing in the scene's so good because he says, you see it, and Daniel says, you see it, and Carver starts to respond, and it was a rhetorical question. He's just like, I see it. And, then he kind of lays it all out, and then he just stops. And then Carver is trying to explain like why he did it and all that. And it doesn't, and Daniels just doesn't even care.
Right.
Now, and then of course, like Daniels turns cause he's like pissed and he's frustrated and all these other emotions, and he just sits down, but then he takes a breath and he's like, okay, this is a teaching moment.
Yeah.
And he just lays this all out. Like, here's what is in store for you in the future. And here's how this is going to play out. And here's how you have to think about this as you go forward. If he had like reamed him out, and just said, get the fuck out of my office or whatever, it doesn't change the fact that Carver's going to be promoted to sergeant. And and he's still going to have this thing, which means that he's going to. So, and
it's not going to change how he leads.
Yeah,
right.
And so I love that. I love that Daniels like has that bit of grace and says, okay, here's how I kind of send you out on the right foot because you're not going to be under my charge anymore in a little while. So it's a terrific scene. The two actors do really well, and I mean. I'll get into the Mr. Nugget's life lesson, but spoiler alert, that's it comes from this scene. But anyway,
well, this scene ends with Daniels then pulling a gun out of his desk and walking over to Pryzbylewski and putting it next to him and letting him basically know that he has earned the right to have his arm again. And Prez even. He's like, well, there's a lot of work to do here. Like, almost like are you sure that am I sure, that this is the right move? But, Daniels makes clear that he wants Pryzbylewski to be involved with, the next step, bringing Wee-Bey in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love how he just ignores Prez's objections.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
I don't give a shit. Whatever your problem is, like, or whatever you think. Like, we're doing this as a unit, as we always have.
Yes.
So
yeah.
But he doesn't say no in the sense of like I don't care. It's just like
right. He just continues on.
He just references the light trigger pull that.
Yeah. Yes. I loved that. Yeah. That was great.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we are now in Philly and the team's poised and ready. Carver, I was like, what the hell is he doing? He starts breaking some car windows, sets off an alarm, and then Wee-Bey comes running out in his boxers. And they all come in and arrest him. They take him down. So they got Wee-Bey.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was wondering if the fact that Carver broke the window, was that like a callback to it being some black cop always doing this? Like, I don't know. I don't know if it was intentional or not.
About that. Yeah.
But that struck me as kind of interesting. I was like, looking back, I'm like, I wish he had been on the other side, on the driver's side of the car, because that would have put the car between him and Wee-Bey coming out of the building.
No
but if like Wee-Bey had a gun,
I know.
My God,
that would not be good.
Shot,
yeah, exactly. Be on the other side of that vehicle.
Yeah, but of course, like they were all staying there, so who knows? But anyway, and then I love. It's like y'all got. You didn't have to fuck with my ride.
Yeah, you just have to fuck with my ride. Like, his face the entire time.
Dude, you are so fucked. Like, why do you care what your ride looks like? So,
yeah. No, it's his baby.
Yeah. So. Yeah, it's a short scene, but I kind of just love the way that they follow the cops into the house, and it just really makes it really frenetic, and it's just and to see Wee-Bey get caught, it's a good feeling.
It is.
Yeah,
it is
one of the rare good feelings.
Yes, yes. All right, these next several scenes go. There's a lot of quick back and forth between scenes.
I'll try not to talk.
Yeah, no, it's okay. I just want to, give a heads up here that we're going to be going back and forth pretty quickly here. We're in a cafe with Perlman and the other district attorney that I can never remember.
Eileen Nathan.
Yeah, thank you, Eileen. And
so I'm here.
Yes, exactly. There is a call that comes from the jail where Dee is, and we find out it's Levy.
Yep.
Levy is there with Dee, as is his mom Brianna, with her hands on his shoulders. So
Yep. They don't do a lot of
Things are
fireworks
turning.
in the Wire, but that was a gut punch for sure.
Yeah, that was a gut punch. The tide is turning.
Yep.
Move on to another scene here in Homicide. Rawls calls Jimmy in, compliments his work, but then lets him know that Burrell knows that they tried to go to the feds behind his back because of his little diatribe he had to do there at the end before he left. And, somebody from that office called over. I was like, who the hell is this? And, Rawls sits down and kind of acts like he's trying to be reasonable and asks that question that Freeman warned him about. So where don't you want to go?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was, he has like a little, smile on his face, just this kind of knowing smirk, like, yeah, there we go. Yeah. So I'm, in that moment, you're like, oh my God. Remember, just say say where you do want to go as where you don't want to go so that you end up there.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, now we are, let's see here, with Perlman and Levy. And we're in an office. Oh, yeah. Okay. We've got a lot of lawyers in here because we've also got
Weebay's
lawyer as well. Yes. And they keep on referring to Weebay as Mr. Bryce, which I was like, who's that? Yeah. Everybody's like, who's that? Weebay. And he's going to take all the murders basically to protect Avon. And they also find out, the DAs also find out that they can't take most of the assets, many of the assets at all, because they were all under different names. So it's just, things are starting to fall apart. Like, it's like we got built up to this really good place where we thought we had a very strong case, and things are starting to slip through fingers, is what it seems like.
Yep.
Where are we now? Barksdale is going to take 7 years. We're in the court. Barksdale's going to take 7 years for ordering 1 kilogram of heroin to be moved across the border. You can see McNulty's in the back of the courtroom. He is looking pissed. Ronnie Moe for distribution has, 15 years tops that he's going to get. So, we're going through all of these people and the plea and what their sentencing will be. In the meantime, Weebay is being questioned, and he is eating fries and a burger, happy as can be. I do love this scene. He's just like, what the fuck? Nonchalant, happy to eat his food. And he's more than happy to cop to all the murders. He's basically like, yeah, you bring me in, a sandwich from the pit and some potato salad, and I'll tell you, I'll take more murders or whatever.
That it? I do better, I give him more? Life no parole means what it says. This proffer keeps you off death row, but that's all it does.
You were on the wrong side of a cop getting shot, Mr. Bryce. You want to even dream about straight life for all these bodies? You got to wake up talking about Avon Barksdale and Stringer Bell.
Nah. But as to murders, you might as well give them what you have. Because anything you leave out is outside the deal. They learn about it later, they can charge you later.
Fuck it then. For another pit sandwich and some tater salad, I'll go a few more.
You want that?
Medium rare out of horseradish. All right. I did, little man. Thinking he might get weak on that cop getting shot.
Yeah? Where's the body?
Druid Hill, behind the reptile house. Get back in the weeds, we might go find what's left of him.
All right, that's 7. What else you got?
How about them witnesses? The security lady, and what's his name? The maintenance man.
Gant?
Yeah, Gant.
You did Gant alone.
Got a tater salad, how about slaw?
So yeah, I mean, he takes Little Man's murder and Lyle's and Gant. And Gant is the one that is, I think, is that the one that's the hang up there later? Yeah. Okay. So we'll get on to that. Oh, we move on here. Oh, Daniels runs into Major Cantrell in the hallway, and we find out that Cantrell has received the role of Major that I think Burrell and his crony guy.
Yeah, Major Reed.
Yeah, Major Reed. We're like, this is the one. Yeah, this would be you'd be perfect for this. And then now Cantrell's got it, and Daniels is kind of like, a rueful smile on his face. Just knew that this is what what he was sacrificing by sticking to his gun and playing it by the book. Let's see here. We go to narcotics. Herc is training new detectives. Daniel smiles, looking on. It's a pretty fun scene to just see, Herc kind of laying down the law and getting serious with these new guys.
There's just a hilarious this like he's pointing at his head, his brain, and he's saying this as dis. I mean, I know it's an accent, but it's hard to take somebody seriously.
It is.
It's like you got to respect your intellect. This is how you're pronouncing it. But anyway,
that scene was great. Oh my goodness! Back to the courtroom. Stringer swings by McNulty, says nicely done to him.
Yep. Call back to the first episode.
Yes, exactly. Let me see here. We're in the low rises. Bodie is complaining. He's waiting for re-ups. Nothing's coming. He's getting pissed because I'm sure there is just more pressure for people to be selling over there. And Rawls is talking to somebody in the office, and they pan out and we see it is Freeman with Landsman sitting next to him. So Freeman is moving into homicide. He's out of the pawn shop unit. Yeah.
He could not be happier. He's just listening. And
yes. Even though, like he kind of knows it's all shit, what Rawls is saying. And I'm very reasonable, sir. And, you don't play the game for yourself. You play it for us.
Right.
And we know exactly what he's referring to there.
Yep.
Yeah. Shall I keep going?
I'll let you get through all these scenes, and then I'll rewind just a couple because there are a couple I want to talk about.
So one more quick one here. Low rises. We've got Poot looking around. He's watching deals go down. He sees somebody not use the proper technique for how to exchange drugs and money. Schools him. Poot's on a black couch. So what? We had a black couch.
I don't know what. I actually did not see any story about what happened. I think it just must mean like. It's just Poot is now running the low rises, so maybe he's like, I'm going to spring for a new couch.
Yeah, okay, new wish.
But of course,
new to the courtyard.
What's he eating?
I didn't notice.
He's eating nuggets.
He's eating nuggets. He's eating some life lessons.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so let's get into this next scene because Phelan comes by. McNulty's exhausted. He's just like falling asleep outside the courtroom. And Phelan comes and congratulates him on a very big case. So there you go. Back in the courtroom, we see that Dee is going to take the fall. Max 20 years that he could get. He's not going to testify against the others. He's not going to testify against his uncle. D. Killing me. Killing me. Bunk comes up and tells McNulty that Weebay is taking all of the murders, but Gantz does not make sense because the method that he says he used to kill Gant does not make sense with the evidence that was left behind, right? Of like how that he would have been shot, what they would have seen. But he's going to do, because of this, he's going to do life with no parole. And so, what they are thinking is like, he's just like, well, as long as he's going to do life without parole, he's going to get Bird off for shooting Gant.
He might as well take, but
he might as well. He's going to do life even without that one on there as well. And Avon's walking out of the courtroom. We see kind of a slow-mo look of him at McNulty. And at the end of the scene, it's kind of, McNulty says, "What the fuck did I do?" Is his characteristic line. Little consolation from Perlman as she walks out. A little pat on the shoulder. And that's the courtroom scene.
No, you got it. You ran through that very, very nicely. So let's see. The only thing, there are a couple of scenes I did want to comment on. So going back to Levy and Weebay's lawyer with Rhonda and Daniels, this is one of those things where I think it's such a really important kind of lesson to bring in, which is the Wire is excellent at, I guess, like forcing you to recognize that you as essentially the God view. You have to like set that aside for what is actually, that's right. Thank you. You have to set that aside for what is actually available in evidence. And so, and I'm going to make this comment a couple of times, but in, Law and Order or other like procedurals, they'll oh, well, we know we did this. And he's like, well, how, prove it. And it's
Right.
like, oh, well, they'll just make up something. But in this case, like, this just shows how hard it is to make a really good case and how important D'Angelo's testimony would have been to really bringing this down. So that was one. Then moving on to a little Easter egg in the sentencing when the bailiff is speaking, it says, all rise.
Yeah.
That's David Simon's voice. Apparently everybody else had already had some kind of voiceover work, so they just used his, which I thought was kind of cool. And the sentencing, the scenes in the courtroom really show, man, the law is boring.
Totally.
Like, I mean, Rhonda Perlman just laying off. I was like, oh my God.
Yes, it is. It's just a string of things.
Yeah.
She's just reading off a piece of paper. Yeah.
She sounds so professional, but it's just like, holy crap.
Yeah.
Like, this is what it is. It's not like, did you murder that person
Right.
and getting a
No.
confession on the same. It's like, nope, it's just reading a whole bunch of stuff.
It's not like
and a whole
Jack
bunch
Nicholson
of
in A Few Good Men.
Exactly.
It really isn't.
Oh, nice. And then I think the other one I just wanted to... no, sorry. There are a few more. Weebay confessing is such a great scene, as you said. He is such a cold motherfucker. Like, so if you want to dream of anything other than, or if you want to dream of avoiding death row, you have to start talking about Avon Barksdale, Stringer Bell. He's like, nah, like that is how little death row means
I'll
to
take
him.
it.
He's like, I don't care.
Exactly.
Whatever. And then he's like, what was it? The maintenance man? And then Bunk goes, Gant? And he's like, Gant. And then Bunk says, you did Gant. And he just like shrugs and smiles. And then Norris comes back in and says, they're out of tater salad. How about tater salad? How about slaw?
Cool
and he's
slaw,
like,
he's like,
that's
the thing he's upset about.
He is more exactly. He's more upset about not getting his potato salad than he is about killing a man. Oh, God, brutal. I mean, and of course, like, he's a sociopath, so like, what do you expect?
Yep.
Little note. So Ronnie Moe got 851 in the first episode. So that means the tower.
Yes.
He got the tower 851, and then of course he ends up in prison, which I just thought was kind of, it just kind of made me kind of smirk a little bit. Like, getting promoted that's what you get.
Yeah, exactly.
And then the last one that I think. I just want to mention. There are a couple of promotions. So another promotion is Bodhi has a tower now. So you talked about that. JD Preston, who plays Bodhi, had this great moment when he's talking on the phone. And he goes, listen. And then he just stops and he makes a face. And the guy, like, clearly the guy on the phone is like just talking shit or whatever. And I just love that. Like, you have to go back and gotta watch it. Because he just pauses and you have to react to somebody like speaking to you on the phone.
Motherfucker, I've been here since lunch. Wait, ain't nobody been through here. You hear me? I've been waiting. Y'all ain't about shit. Yeah, listen to me. Look, if you feel like that, then get off this phone, come down here and step to me then, nigga. God.
And then he's like, come down here and step to me. And then,
exactly.
And then he's like, all right. Like, it's like, oh, it's okay.
It's all good.
Okay. It was just whatever. And then of course, as we said, like, Poot gets promoted to being the man in the low rises, which is a little bit of a callback from episode 6. And that's it. So that's it. Those are all the little notes. But yeah, as you said, it goes through a lot of those. It happens really quickly.
It is.
But of course, it all just shows that all this work.
Yeah.
What happened? Like, what did McNulty? What did you actually get done? It's not very much. So.
Yeah, exactly. And we go straight into like a montage, basically, right?
Yep.
Bubs and Johnny are looking at some copper pipe in a plumbing truck, and before they can do that, a cop on the beat walks out. It's Sandy.
Yep.
I could not believe that. Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah, he got fucked too.
He did.
He put his faith in Rawls.
Yep, did not matter. Carver's maid sergeant. He's got Burrell saluting him, looking him in the eye. And he's got a bit of a terrified look in his face.
I feel like they were both a little shamed.
Yeah,
there was shame that was behind that. That's how I interpreted it.
Yeah. Prez is cleaning off the bulletin boards, boxing everything up. We see the dungeon's empty. Kima's looking out the window, and she's in a walker coming down the hallway of the hospital. Freeman and Bunk, then, who are, looks like partnered up, come and visit McNulty, who is on the Marine unit. Is he a stevedore? Is that what you call that?
No.
Okay.
That's
stevedore is somebody else. That's
the
somebody
stevedores are the guys who actually
that
unload the
unload
ships
and load stuff. So
yeah,
okay.
he's just police.
policing them.
Yeah.
Okay. And we go to the funeral home, and Stringer is working, and it kind of zooms in on him, and then we just see drug deals going down over and over. Drug deals passing. Many drug deals going down. This montage kind of ends with one drug deal. You hear a whistling of the farmer in the dell, and a gun comes out, and it's Omar. He's back. He's stealing the drugs, and he says it's all in the game.
Yep. Yeah. So what did you think of the montage?
I'm cool with it.
Okay.
What do I say? Like because it does go to that, like, what did I do? Like, did you change anything?
Yeah.
And it's just like to show us what has not changed.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So the song itself is called Step by Step. It's by Jesse Winchester. Okay. So I'm going to go into a little bit of the lyrics. It's not a particularly complicated song, but all the happy saints go marching in, and if a saint steps out of line, he'll have to start again. Oh. Because Jacob's golden ladder gets slippery at the top, which Freeman actually says something very similar to that to Daniels. I think it's in episode 3. Okay. And he's like, I know it gets more slippery the higher you go.
Yeah.
And many a happy-go-lucky saint has made that long, long drop. So I feel like that's McNulty, like, I'm doing my job, so I'm not going to fall, but that's kind of what happened. So, right. And then the chorus is, so I don't know, like any other interpretations before I move on? It feels pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
It's just like, you got to stay in line.
Yeah, that's kind of what I would take from it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just a bit from the chorus is, because I need to know before I go, how come the devil smiles? So I feel like that's a little bit more about like McNulty's pursuit, and he has to get to this root of evil kind of thing, and
he cannot stop
despite
himself.
the risks and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
And then the second verse I won't go into, but it's kind of like more of the same. Like, if you're marching in line, you're not really paying attention to the world around you. Mm-hmm. But the last line is, heaven's walls are too high to hear the trouble down below, which I kind of think about like the people that run the institutions.
Yeah.
So it's a really, I love that song. And I love listening to it. And in fact, I'm embarrassed to say that I've watched that scene, that montage so many times. I probably can just like, hear the song and picture the whole montage in my head, but that's not a good thing. But yeah, as you said, like, so but as you said, it really does kind of like wrap up the theme of the series, or excuse me, this first season in quite a nice little bow.
Yeah.
So, and then of course you have the Omar and the South, and it says South Bronx. I don't know if you knew that. I don't know if you saw that.
I did not see that. Actually, I wondered if he was not in the same location, or if he was somewhere else.
That's what I think. I don't think I picked up on the first time, but if you watch like right at the beginning of that particular scene, it says South Bronx Metal. Okay. It's like one of the shops that they're outside.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Right.
How did you feel seeing Omar again? Were you just, you knew he was out there?
I was kind of delighted, actually.
Yeah,
God, as soon as I heard that whistling, I was like, oh, there we go.
Yeah, God, that smile
That's my guy.
is so good. So
yeah.
Okay, so the next section, as I mentioned, Mr. Nugget's life lessons.
Yes.
So as I said, it was the Cedric Daniels to Carver. Comes a day, you're going to have to decide if it's about you or it's about the work. Mm-hmm. And I mean, to me, it just reminds me of a line I remind myself of. I think I might have mentioned here, but it's like, how you do anything is how you do everything, is the line that I kind of tell myself. It's a really hard standard to live up to, but the point is that what Daniels was saying is, like, if you show people what you value, they will deliver what you value.
Right.
And so if you're in a position of authority and you care about getting promoted, then people will work toward, either they will help you, or they're going to be like, oh, well, clearly it's all about just getting promoted to the next thing.
Yeah.
And so, hopefully as you go and make your way through the world, you're like, what do I care about? What is valuable to me? Is it promotion? Is it money? Is it whatever else? Yeah. But if those are the things, and the people that you depend on, they will either they'll align themselves to that same thing, or they will figure out a way to go their own way that might not be what you're looking for. Yeah. And so it's just really interesting because you have people that are like, even like pieces of shit will fall in line. I think will fall in line if they have the right kind of leadership.
Yeah.
And it's like, look, you know, you can be an asshole, but this is what's important to this unit. Like kind of with Detective Polk, it's like, he, you know, I kind of think he's a piece of shit.
Yes.
He's not like what's the word? He's not intentional about it, but he's just clearly not a policeman that cares about anything. And and Daniel's like, I don't care what your position is. This is what we're doing, and it's important, and this is why, and it's about the job and doing it well. And Polk is like, yeah, okay, it's not for me. Yeah. I'm just gonna go do something else.
I'm good, thanks.
So so that's my life lesson from this. I think there's quite a few since it's all being wrapped up, but that's that's
there are a lot of them in this one, but that's a good one.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I appreciate that. The killer cameos for this episode, I had 2.
Okay.
Yet another tragic person was Kirk Penberthy, who is the ASAC. I guess I have a particular affinity for actors who play really characters that I hate.
Okay.
Because I feel like if I really hate somebody, I'm like, they're doing a good job.
Yeah. I totally agree with you on that.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I also love Onion. I thought he was great.
Onion.
But I couldn't figure out his name. So Kirk Penberthy was the ASAC.
Okay.
But another tragic died in 2014. So
jeez.
I didn't. Yeah. He didn't have much of a. Yeah, I know, right? He didn't have much of an IMDb profile, but he was in a few things. But in any case, but I didn't know why. Let's see what else. Okay, so this episode had a ton of callbacks because it was wrapping almost everything up.
Oh yeah.
Let's see if I missed anything. Got the Poot phone sex tape. That was fun to. Of course, he missed the best part, but
yes,
whatever.
Unfortunately.
And of course, Poot was teaching the lesson that Dee taught him.
Yep.
Or taught Wallace.
Wallace.
So
yes.
Yep.
About the mind exchange.
And I think that's it. So, all right. So here we are. The lesson today, of course, is that institutions roll on.
Yes.
I mean, it feels as true today as it ever was, right?
I would agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, David Simon did talk about how institutions are the things that people can change, but institutions are much harder to change. And this is kind of like this first season is really just demonstrating that, you know,
and we don't have a
and
chance to see how much of a dent this made yet, right? Like there's a possibility that it did, you know, putting Avon away,
that's true.
Potentially 7 years could make a dent. You know, I mean, the way to really handle this would be to have treatment centers and things like that.
Yeah.
But, you know, we're at a point where the punishment occurs, but we don't get to see the ramification of the punishment.
Right.
Like we're not far enough away from it. Yeah. So it does seem like things keep rolling on, but eager to see, you know, what the fallout of that is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's. I will not put you on the spot for predictions because there's no way you could know.
Yeah.
But go back to previous predictions. You thought that Barksdale would get life, and he was close. He would have if D'Angelo had not flipped.
Yep.
You were right about D'Angelo being offered immunity.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, he did not. You also said he would take it, which he was close.
I really thought he was gonna.
Yeah.
Take it. I really thought he was gonna get out. I thought. You know, like I knew a lot of things would not change. Like I had a very, very strong feeling about Bubs would still be easing. But D, man, I really thought that one was going to be him making something happen.
Yeah. Well, you parlayed those two, and unfortunately, they both, you know, you got one wrong, so you're gonna get
yes, I get
but if you got the D'Angelo one right, then you would have gotten them both right, I think. But in any case, Chardine and Freeman will go on a proper date.
Yeah,
give you credit for that, and Kima will open her eyes. So good job, Kelly. You are really doing well. I
got a couple.
I almost, yeah. I mean, I guess there's just no context for what's going to happen with season 2. So
yeah.
Okay. Well, that brings us to the end. I have to tell you, Ellie. This is a bit of a side track, but stick with me. I read Lord of the Rings 25 years ago, whatever it was. And I remember I was like, you know, 2/3 of the way through the end of the Return of the King.
Okay.
And I just like refused to pick it up again because I just didn't want it. I didn't want it to end. And I was feeling that way a little bit about this particular. I've been so excited about how the work we've been doing, and so I just want to let you say here, thank you. This has been just such a treat to go through the first season. Obviously, we're not done, but I'm I feel like I'm as happy as I could have been. This has been so much fun.
I have had a blast too. So thank you for talking it up so much over however many years I've known you that I finally was like, let's just have me watch this and do a podcast about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been fun.
It took me, it's what, 5? We've known each other, 12 years or something?
Yeah, something like that. It's been a while. Yeah.
All right, 10, I guess. 10. Okay, well, so we will wrap it up here shortly, but this being the end of the first season, we'd love to do a mailbag. So if you are inclined, please, and you haven't done so already, please send us an email at wiredandrewired@gmail.com or leave a voicemail at 240-488-0060. As always, please leave us your name, your rank, either rookie or veteran, and your question or comment. Make sure, please, I will be vetting everything, so I will know, but be on your honor and include a spoiler alert if you have a spoiler, so that we don't ruin anything for Ellie and the other rookies.
If I see spoiler alert, I need to stop reading.
Exactly.
Or listening.
Yeah. I'm going to, I will stand in front of Ellie, so don't try to do anything nefarious because, but anyway, but we do appreciate you guys listening, and if you write in or leave a message, of course, thank you for that as well. So.
And be sure to subscribe, rate, and review the podcast. We would also love for you to follow us on our socials. We're at Wired and Rewired on Instagram and X/Twitter. So leave a comment and let us know what you think. Thanks.
All right. Well, again, Ellie, thank you. Every listener, thank you so much.
Yes.
Ellie, thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
This is so much fun.
It's so much fun.
All right. Well, we are going to take a little break, but we will be back very shortly. Check the socials. We will be back with season 2, episode 1.
Looking forward to
Ebb Tide.
Yay.
Yeah. All right. Thank you again, Ellie.
All right. Thanks, Chris.
All right. Talk to you later.
Bye.
The Wired and Rewired podcast is Ellie Peterson and me, Chris Aronchek. Our theme song is Nice Vibes by Neon Beach. Want to holler at us? You can email us at wiredandrewired@gmail.com or hit us on the burner at 240-488-0060 to leave us a voicemail. We're Wired and Rewired on all the socials. And of course, if you like the show, please give us a rating and review on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. It helps other Wire fans discover the show. And until next time.
Yo, do what you feel, but be ready to finish what you start.